Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, Bitcoin hits all-time highs. We're going to break that down. We're going to break down the dollar, US dollar, Japanese yen, the S&P, the NASDAQ, Grandpa Dow. Might as well take a peek at the Russell. Why not? And then we'll talk about the stock market's expected moves for the week. I guess first and foremost, let's just bring up the news in general. We're going to jump into Bitcoin after this. As far as the economic calendar goes, let's see, Monday, PMI. Let's see, Tuesday we will have, I guess, retail sales. Nothing really moving anything. PMI might have some volatility pre-market. That's all that is. Uh, Actually, that is 15 minutes after the bell. So we'll see. Just some very morning volatility. Doubt anything. For the rest of the week, we have building permits. Won't do much. Fed interest rates, FOMC minutes on Wednesday. Thursday, we will have just existing home sales, nothing crazy there. Friday, PCE. So we'll have some excuses to move futures around, but I don't know how much things will actually move based off this data. Just it being the end of the year, I mean it, guys. Volume is about to really die out, so you want to be careful or selective with your trades going into the year. If you're worried about moving with big money, call it smart money, whatever you want, uh, they're about to take a vacation. And then again, they're not worried about you guys. Let's do it in the normal order. As far as the dollar goes, that is in a weekly zone right here. Now, I actually am long the US dollar, Japanese yen, and I have a tighter trail on it right now. Just because we broke out above this, I wanted to go long. Once we do turn around, I'll go a lot heavier back in short, but just for the current time being. Breaking above this, I did go long. Stop is in the green, so as long as it continues to go up, I'll just continue to make money. But when it does turn around, I'm probably going to go pretty heavy as far as the short position goes. But right now, kind of just seeing what we got here. This could just be another lower high, kind of hitting these two green lines is a monthly zone. Jumping into why you're probably here. Bitcoin hit all-time highs. Uh, Breaking it completely down. We kind of jumped right here. We broke that 100K mark. We jumped up, hit a high of 104, sold off all the way down to this yellow zone we had right here, 92,000. Popped right back up. Ultimately, we were holding this 97. Call it 90. Call it 97, give or take 1,000 almost. Hold on. And we'd push up, we'd bounce off this blue zone, we'd come back down. We would try to break this yellow zone. Ultimately, we would hold it right here. So this is kind of like how algos work. Anything below 96.8 was the hey, start buying the coins. Start filling that order. And it did. We saw the buyers step up, really hold it, kind of push it up. Finally broke that previous wick. So whatever sellers were sitting here at this 102, almost 103 mark, more honestly, actually, we'll call it 101 we'll call it just 103. No sellers there anymore. Looks like everybody that was taking profit or just selling at the top. No more sell orders. So we finally got that push up. All the Robinhood folks were notified. 24-hour trading opened back up. So if you are in Beto, Mara, MicroStrategy, MSTY, all of those have a nice gap up right now. So looking at that, congrats to you guys. Honestly, I would expect the pullbacks to remain pretty similar to kind of how they have been. And until this kind of channel up breaks for the remainder of the year, I would not be the least bit surprised to see us stay in this channel the remainder of the year. You know, like Kyle says, are your thumbs broken? Hit that like button for our boy. It's exactly what you should do. Like and share would be nice. We're definitely trying to be more consistent growing so that the videos just aren't going to stop. I will say this before we jump into the futures and everything else. Because the remainder of the year gets a lot slower, I'm actually going to put a lot more time focusing into the lesson side of things. If this just wasn't your year trading, let's figure out why and let's bridge that gap as to where you're at and where I'm at. I've been doing this 12 years. So without that 12 years of your own experience, you're probably going to need to borrow some of mine. That would be like the perfect sales pitch too. Like this is where you should join the Patreon, buy my course. If you do buy the course, it is a lifetime, so there's no need to join the Patreon. But that is only until Christmas. That is not a pitch. I do have to pay to kind of have that website up and everything. It won't be up anymore after that. Brought it back as a Black Friday thing, extended to Christmas. Anyway, Patreon's going to be it. you can stay there as long as you want. But anyway, I guess it does stand to note you could practice a bunch of dumb things for the next 12 years, and it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be. I don't want to be cocky and say at my level, but kind of at a trader's level, if that makes sense. Um, how to draw zones, please. I mean, I do have that video. Most of my live streams are literally talking about that, just so you guys can watch me do it. That's why I don't like moving zones. I don't like actually moving these lines or even drawing these lines unless I'm live. That way, no one can say like I drew that after the fact. No, it was just magic. I drew it before, and then they bounced off of that. Anyway, so I know this is a lot of you guys are here live. If you want to comment down below on the actual video recording, TikTok, you don't have this because TikTok doesn't post these like YouTube does. It is on YouTube, so you can go check that out and comment. Ask any of the questions down below. Why didn't you make 150% this year? How to get started investing in 2025? Perhaps a Roth IRA. Might not be bad. Yeah, just hope the broker and open one of those. I will say it is. I thought it was funny at first, but the amount of people that have opened up a Roth IRA, put money in it, and it didn't grow, and they're so confused, was actually mind blowing. You do have to invest in things. It's just a tax advantage account. The money still needs to go somewhere. All right, moving on. The S&P futures, as far as the futures go, they do roll over tomorrow. Shout out to Steve for that, keeping us that little reminder in the chat. Your futures, you're probably already on the next futures contract. Liquidity is going to be nothing right now if you haven't changed already. But I will say futures right now, holding this blue zone, kind of holding it up. I would be bullish. I expected this the Thursday. No, it was the Wednesday pullback. I didn't expect the second day. That was annoying. So we got the pop up. It was a day off on that last week. Anyway, we jumped up, hit that yellow zone, pulled back. Right now, we're kind of holding. I gotta say, although I am kind of bullish the rest of the year, bullish because of probably a lack of sellers. I got to keep an eye on the fact that I could probably draw a better trend line for you. Somewhere along here, we're making lower highs, and we're only at a blue zone. I expect more of the yellow zones to hold. Blue zones, it's no surprise. It's where I expect things to be turbulent. But it is interesting that I'm just curious how much longer we're going to be holding this level. So would not surprise me in the least to see this actually break down. That would be my bounce point, this yellow zone, and where I'm going long. If we hit this yellow zone, I'm going to go long NQ futures. I'd even probably, if we hit that, maybe Monday or Tuesday, I would be buying QQQ calls for this Friday. Looking at the S&P, now the S&P, the expected moves are all done. So if you're on the Patreon, you're in my group, you have my charts. All the expected moves are accurate, up to date. They're ready to rock for this week. Now, I did copy the last crash we had, and I drew it here on the S&P, just kind of see a visual of kind of how I think 2025 is probably going to pan out. And this was just the 2022 crash right here. I just kind of copied it over up in here. Can you imagine if we don't break these highs until 2030? Yikes. Oh, now that would suck. Can we bring that in a little bit? Let's tone it down a little bit. Let's see, 2028. Now, Trump would not let that happen. It would probably still be in Trump's term. Trump wants to take all the credit for it. Probably more like that. Anyway, that's what I do kind of expect to happen next year. And honestly, I got to say, guys, today was the first time I got the actual vibe. Sounds kind of weird. This is not financial advice at all. But I was looking at all the tickers, and I told you guys I've been talking about that I do think we're going to crash next year. I'm thinking around March. And it is worth noting, going back to the S&P futures right here. Now, I have this highlighted for a reason, and if you've been here for a while, then you know exactly why. This is when the Rona crash actually started. Okay, now you need to create that exit liquidity. So what they did was they pumped things up to all-time highs, get everybody jumping into the markets. This is going to be great. Markets will never pull back, yada, yada, yada. That 2018 was a fluke, and everybody was just buying. No looking back. No one's looking over their shoulder. Everything's going good. All the good news is coming out. And while that's happening, the big banks are actually selling. And that's, in fact, how I called it out the day it happened, because we kind of ran out of buyers. The big banks were still selling and actually dropped it down uh, and hinted to anybody paying attention as to what was going on. So that's the 100% the reason why I called it out the day before it happened. And I kind of think we're doing that again. I think this is I think we're in the push up. I call it the volleyball spike because, if you're going to if you're going to spike a volleyball, someone has to set it first. They toss it up and then you hammer it down on their face, which essentially would probably be you guys, the retail investor. Am I bearish or bullish for 6A? 6A, is that the euro? Give me 1 second. The Australian dollar. Oh, you want me to pull up the actual Aussie USD? This would actually be a bearish play, because if you're long the dollar, that would be bearish. This I would be catching the knife on. It'd be much better if I could catch it in that zone. Where are we at? My stop, I can tell you, my stop right now would be 0.6265. It would be below this zone regardless. I would buy it right now if I just didn't have the patience. Buy it right now, knowing full well I'm going to add on in this yellow zone, but full stop below this previous green wick right here. All right. NASDAQ. Jumping into the NASDAQ. So far, a little bit of a green open. Nothing too wild, what we'd expect on a Sunday. Bitcoin, kind of a risk-on asset, so maybe that'll jump into the Magnificent Seven as well. Maybe get a few more buyers. You probably want to watch. I think Tesla's still in the spotlight. Tesla's probably going to drive that, but we also have Google and Amazon absolutely killing it, and they carry some weight in the NASDAQ. So we'll see what those do, because if those start to take profit, you might have the NASDAQ actually pull back. You might catch that dip buy. Did I say? I was talking about NQ back here. This would be an ES contract. So if you were watching from the beginning, I said if we hit this yellow zone, I'm going to buy NQ contracts. I was referencing this as the NASDAQ. This is the S&P. So this would be ES contracts. And I would buy an ES contract. I do play in my yellow zones. For the NASDAQ would depend. If we pull back and hit that yellow zone right there, I might. It kind of depends on when we hit that. Middle of the day, not the first 10 minutes of market open. Fresh into some volume, I probably would. Hits that overnight, probably not. Jumping into this yellow zone right here is an automatic buy for me as far as the NQ contract goes. So I'll make that a little bit brighter so I know I talked about that. So right here, I like to talk about what I'm going to do. So later on when I have the video talking about why I made so much, there was always like that previous, like, I told you. 50-50 on me making that video with this play right here, because it might hit it and then just might not feel right. Not going to do it. Depends on there's too many variables. Hits this one, bright red candle, little red candle, it wouldn't really matter. I'm buying that one. Let's see our expected moves, kind of hanging out. Let's go Grandpa Dow. I took a long play last time, and I kind of want to do it again right now. I'll probably have to do that during my mentorship stream, which is after this one. We do Zoom calls on Sundays and Thursdays, just so I can see everyone's faces. Make it a little more like a classroom. For now, I'm going to hang tight and see where it's at. I do kind of want to go along this right now. It's in a very consistent channel down. So if you're not a knife catcher, this play is not for you. The knife is somewhere else. I am like a circus freak. I will juggle knives on fire. Does not bother me in the slightest. Look at the Russell. Now, the Russell actually would have just been at a dip buy spot for me, right there in that yellow zone. And I told you guys this on our last few streams, like, don't really care. Get it at the yellow. We hit that. Currently, it's bouncing. Also, kind of have a nice little channel up. End of the year, maybe Santa Claus rally. Might hit it without any catalyst of let's burn this thing to the ground. This one might actually do well. Looking at financials, though, financials breaking this zone. Financials will move the Russell a lot. This is 22% of just the Russell. or like the ETF for the Russell is IWM. Most people just know it as that. I would keep an eye on that. Honestly, if you're thinking about buying a Russell contract or even IWM, I would have my alert right here at 49.30 because if the financials break that, you might not be in for a good day on the Russell. Yeah, Santa Claus needs to come to some banks.